Today we're gonna continue our talk about grammar and the topic of demonstratives, interrogatives, and relative pronouns. Yesterday we talked about demonstrative pronouns such as this, that, these, and those. And we discussed that this and that are used for singular items, ideas, or things, and these and those are used for plural ideas or places or things. Also, we talked about interrogative pronouns that are used to introduce a question such as what, which, whose, whom, and who and whom. Today we're gonna talk about relative pronouns. We have three relative pronouns. First is who, and that, and which. Let's take a look at this sentence. I met a woman. She can speak 6 languages. We have here two sentences. The first one ends with I met a woman. This is the first one. The second is she can speak 6 languages. Relative pronouns such as who, that, and which are used to combine two sentences into one single sentence. It would be a very long one single sentence. For example, I met a woman who can speak 6 languages. Here we crossed off she and used who and combined the two sentences into one large sentence. So the new sentence is I met a woman who can speak six languages. Alright, let's take a look at another example. Jack was wearing a hat. It was too big for him. Here we have two sentences, two separate sentences. If we want to combine them into one single sentence, we would say, we would use which or that to combine the two sentences into one sentence. So we would cross off it and use which or that instead of it. So, for example, Jack was wearing a hat that, this is the relative pronoun, that was too big for him. Or we can say, Jack was wearing a hat which, this is the relative pronoun that we use instead of the original word, which is it. We use that or which instead of it. So the new sentence would be Jack was wearing a hat which was too big for him. Remember that who is used instead of we use who instead of humans, okay? And use which instead of things. But that is very flexible. Let me just write that. Comments, typewriter. Okay. Who for humans, which for non-humans. That is flexible, used for both. Alright, this is very good. So in this sentence, I met a woman. She can speak 6 languages. We can only use who. So the correct grammatical form would be I met a woman who can speak 6 languages. With the had, or we can also use that. We can say I met a woman that can speak 6 languages. We can also say that. Why? Because that is flexible and we can use it with both human and non-human objects. With the hat, with the example of Jack wearing a hat, we can either say Jack was wearing a hat, it was too big for him. We can either say Jack was wearing a hat that was too big for him, or which. Okay, so we can use which is used for non-human objects, and also we can use that which is used for both of things. Let's take a look at some of the examples. A thief is a person who steals things. This is a relative clause. This is a sentence which contains a relative clause. If we want to separate the two sentences, or this sentence, to split it into the two original sentences it had, we would say a thief is a person, he steals things. Okay, this is the original sentence. Alright, next let's take a look at this example. An airplane is a machine that flies. The original sentences were an airplane is a machine or the machine flies, or it flies. Same goes with which. For example, Emma lives in a house which is 400 years old. The original sentence was Emma lives in a house, it is 400 years old. So just to recap, remember that who is used for humans, which is used for non-humans, that is used for both. Okay, that is used for both. Let's take a look at this exercise. Number 101.2. Make a sentence from two. Here we have two sentences, and we will combine them with the use of a relative pronoun so we can have a single, very long sentence. Number one is already made, but we're gonna read it anyway. The example says, a man phoned. He didn't give his name. So the correct answer should be, the man who phoned didn't give his name. Here we used who because we're using the relative pronoun instead of the word he, the pronoun he, which is a pronoun used for humans, of course. This is a personal pronoun. This is a subject personal pronoun. We cross it off and we use who instead of it. A man who phoned didn't give his name. Number two. A woman opened the door. She was wearing a yellow dress. We would say, the woman who opened the door was wearing a yellow dress. Let me just write it here. A woman who opened the door was wearing a yellow dress. Number three, some students took the exam. Most of them passed. We would say most of the students who took the exam passed. Okay, most of the students who took the exam passed. Number four, a policeman stopped our car. He wasn't very friendly. We would say the policeman who stopped our car was not very friendly. Okay. Take this exercise number 101.3, this one, and 101.4 as homework. Thank you, class. See you next week.